Ohio State might both make the playoff. Would that be fact or fiction?
Can I call you an idiot? No, it's fiction, Greeny. I really like Ohio State still. And I know Michigan has beaten up on a bunch of nobodies and they look good and they've settled the quarterback situation. It's fiction, though.
All right, we're going to get back to that one. Meanwhile, Heather, if I were to say USC and Lincoln Riley, that's a legit playoff contender. Is that fact or fiction?
Right now, Greeny, I say it's fact. I have them at number 4 almost by default. But the truth is we're going to find out the answer in mid-October when they play Utah. They should be undefeated heading into that game. ESPN's FPI gives Utah a slight edge right now.
All right, and then, Paul, I'm looking forward to this one. If I were to say Alabama is not a lock to make the playoff, would that be fact or fiction?
That's still fiction in my book. I know what happened over the weekend. I know what's happened since. But I still think Alabama is one of the 2 best teams in the country in spite of everything, Greeny.
Well, let's dive into that one a minute here. In case anyone didn't see it, Alabama just squeaked away with a 1-point win over Texas last weekend. The one area, so my initial inclinations seeing that might be to say, well, boy, they sure looked human. But Heather, maybe the difference between them and so many others, a lot of big teams got upset. And Saban's team still, on a day where they did not have their A game or anything approaching it, still found a way to win. Are they a lock for the playoff in your mind, Heather?
I'm not going to say they're at a lock because we're going to go to the offensive line where Bryce Young was sacked twice. Their run blocking was not good. The false starts were all over the place. And then you look at the wide receivers, unable to get separation. When you look at Bryce Young and his passes, a bulk of them didn't go to the wide receivers. They've got to get those things cleaned up. I'm confident they will clean up 15 penalties, which was absolutely ridiculous. Down the road, if they don't clean those up, though, you're talking about potential upsets on the road against LSU, Tennessee. They've got to play Arkansas, which looks really good, Mississippi State. So are they one of the top 4 teams in the country? Yes, I have them number 3 right now. And the selection committee down the road is going to reward them for that road win against a Power 5 team. And it could be even more valuable if Texas goes on to contend for the Big 12 and win it. But as of right now, they got to clean it up before I say they're a lock.
Paul, Nick Saban loved it, didn't he? Down deep inside, coming out of that with a win and looking as bad as he did, no rat poison allowed. He loved that game in retrospect, didn't he?
And remember, we saw this movie last year, Greeny. They went 4 overtimes against a really average Auburn team. They came back the next week and beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. The biggest issue at Alabama, in spite of everything Heather said, is there seems to be a narrowing of talent that we didn't see years ago that we are seeing now. It may not derail them this year, but watch out down the road.
Well, let me ask you about another, and that's your old buddy Jimbo Fisher down there. He's one who did lose a game, right? I mean, that's the difference. Saban on a bad day wins a game. Jimbo Fisher loses a bad game. Congratulations to App State, wonderful win, all of that. But is Jimbo Fisher now in must-win mode? Who's he got this week? He's got Miami this week. That's right. Is he in must-win mode already, Paul?
He is in must-win mode now. Greeny, let me parse my words here for a second. He's not getting fired. The reason it would cost $90 million to get rid of him right now, but he is in trouble in terms of perception. He's got a worse record than the person they fired to make room for him, Kevin Sumlin. His record at A&M outside of the COVID year is pretty mediocre, and a lot of people are beginning to wonder if Florida State wasn't a fluke. This is a critical game this week, and after that, it actually gets more difficult with Arkansas and Alabama and Mississippi State and everyone else in the SEC.
Everyone over the other side of the room, I think, almost had a breakdown when you said that the buyout was $90 million.
Going into coaching.
They almost about lost their mind. All right, Heather, one more for you. Notre Dame, the opening week, they lose at Ohio State. We were talking about how that felt like a pretty good loss. Now they lose to Marshall. What do we say about their postseason hopes?
Greeny, I can't get that stupid song out of my head. Bye, bye, bye. I mean, that's it. It's done. And it's been playing on my head in a loop since Saturday night. And look, now I do not write teams out of the college football playoff. They do it to themselves, and Notre Dame did it. And Tyler Buckner, their quarterback, got injured. They have to find some answers on offense quickly. But the conversation about Notre Dame now turns to how do they impact other playoff contenders on their resume? And by that, I mean USC, Clemson, Ohio State. If Ohio State doesn't win the Big Ten, that game could come under the microscope if Notre Dame tanks.
Paul, were you a bigger fan of NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys?
I didn't really like either one of them, Greeny. But I have to say one more thing. I'm fining you $1,000 for the dumbest question of the year to even ask Heather.
A big one Sunday. What are you watching?
Oh, Saints pass rush on Brady. Listen, revamped offensive line. They already get after Brady. After week 1, he's talking about the bumps and bruises on his podcast. They flat out torture him. Look at the sacks right here. You got most turnovers and sacks taken in a game. Look at him. Saints. That's what they do. 4 times in 2 years. This thing could get ugly in a hurry, but I am excited to see how Brady and this Bucs offense will adjust to it. Will they run it more? Will they establish those things they did against Dallas? Or will they go back to run and gun type offense?
Well, let's touch on it. You just touched on it. Let's hear it. So Brady on his podcast, Let's Go, shed some light on his struggles beginning his 23rd season. Listen to what he said.
What am I dealing with now? I woke up today going, holy shit, that was there was a few hits and you look at your arm and you got bruises, you got cuts, and you got, the way it is, and you go, okay, how much longer do I want to make this commitment? And I obviously made the commitment for this year, and everything's going to be, like always, continue to evaluate, all these different aspects of playing.
Wow, that's week 1.
Yep.
Look. I commend him for the honesty, But if he's, you're my relationship specialist here. What did that sound like to you?
He sounds like he's a man who's trying to process where he is. He sounds like he wants to divorce the game.
Whoa.
And can't let it go. Like he almost, you could feel the feet are like 1 foot out the door. Like you always knew he's 45. Okay, so at some point he's going to be done. But he just sounds like a guy who's really, when he's on the field, he's focused. But when, it's week 1 and we're already counting the bruises and the lumps.
He's been in control since he left New England, very much in control of what he puts out in the media. So maybe I'm just a skeptical guy, but it's his podcast. And he wants us to talk about this. I can't imagine that. I know they say once you start talking about retirement, you're already retired. He actually retired and came back, and now he's talking about retirement. He can't be foolish enough, I don't think, to give us this ammunition unless he wants us to have it. He might throw for 500 yards this week. He's just trying to give us a storyline. And I would like to thank him for that. So yes, Tom Brady, he's done. He's spent. He's mentally checked out.
He got somebody filming. All behind the scenes, he'll be ready to release it. Right as soon as it is, he'll have a whole new show. Watch his documentary. Come check me out. TV12 method at 45. Look at me after week 1. Week 2, I'm back again.
He's gonna sell like
control us a little bit.
300 pair of underwear off the strip of him doing that. Well done, Tom Brady. Hell of a businessman.
All right, so I'll be the gullible one who says that he's going through a lot of stuff in his life, and I think this is a person who is actually in a very introspective place. And I think this is genuinely what he's thinking. He woke up thinking, man, I know I made this commitment and I'm in, but boy, this was not an easy decision. And it's not, you guys all know better certainly than Kimberly and I do. Not easy to be a football player. And with all the stuff he's got going on in his life right now, I actually think he might just be telling you how he feels.
No, this is legit, Greeny. And I remember how hard it was for me to get physically prepared when I was 33. I can't imagine what it feels like at age 45. I mean, I used to have to get to the stadium 5 hours before kickoff just to get my body properly warmed up. All of the different things that you have to do throughout the course of the week, that takes up a lot of your time, that takes up a lot of your energy, and you don't have it to give to other things, i.e. your family or other personal interests. And I think that's Tom Brady in his own way grappling with that reality, and he's being fully transparent. I don't think this is him wavering on his commitment to his teammates.
No.
And if anybody can buck that adage, that if you're thinking about retiring, you are retired, it would be the greatest football player of all time. I think this is Tom Brady just being fully transparent.
I think what it's showing people is how different people can be off the field than on the field. I will tell you, when Tom Brady walks in the building in Tampa, it is laser focused. There are blinders, and everybody around him sits up taller, understands the accountability that's going to be asked for, and what he is going to bring to the table. Whether he's wavering off the field, this dude does not waver on the field. And I'm telling you, one is not going to bleed into the other. He can keep it all out.
It's all foolishness. Tom Brady just selling drawers and stuff like that. Well done, Tom Brady. Well done.
Okay, everybody hold that thought. We have so much more on the NFL to do, but can't overlook the college football, which continues to roll along. We got Paul and Heather ready to go. Let's play a game of fact or fiction. Hey, Paul Finebaum, if I were to say